She said, "I shredded your passport because you're too obsessed with work. Now, you're staying home where you belong." Asterisk, that text came through on a Thursday afternoon, right as I was closing a deal that had taken me 3 months to land. My name's Ethan, 33, project manager at a tech firm in Seattle. I'd been married exactly 3 weeks to a woman named Clara, who'd convinced me a courthouse ceremony was romantic in its simplicity. At that moment, staring at my phone, I realized simplicity was the only thing about us that had ever been romantic. The photo loaded first my passport, shredded into ribbons of blue and white, tossed in our kitchen trash can. Then her message followed, "Greater than you're not going to your brother's wedding, 2 weeks away from me." "No, I shredded your passport. You're staying home. We need to work on us." For a moment, I just sat there. My hands were shaking, but my head was ... quiet, cold. There was no explosion of anger, no heartbreak, just this eerie calm washing over me. Like my mind had flipped a switch I didn't know existed. This wasn't a tantrum. It wasn't even a fight. It was a revelation. This was who she really was, and I had been too blind or too hopeful to see it. I typed a single word, greater than noted. Then I called my assistant. "Lena, find me the nearest passport agency that does same-day emergency replacements. I'll pay whatever it costs." She hesitated. "Is everything okay?" "Not even close," I said. "But I'm still getting on that plane." Within 3 minutes, Lena had found one downtown that could issue an emergency passport. I had proof of imminent travel. I had my boarding pass sitting in my email. That was enough. I left the office without my coat, my tie still loose around my neck, my phone buzzing non-stop in my pocket. I ignored every call when I got to the agency. The woman behind the counter looked at the photo of my shredded passport, then at me. Her lips pressed into a tight line, then she smirked. "Your wife did this." "Soon-to-be ex-wife," I said. She nodded. "Let's get you to that wedding." It cost me $400 in fees and a whole lot of patience. But I walked out at 8 p.m. with a brand new passport in my hand. My flight was at 11:30. I was going to make it, back at the office. I grabbed my laptop and checked my phone, 31 missed calls, 52 unread messages. I forwarded every one of them to a folder labeled evidence. At 10:15, sitting at the airport bar, whiskey in hand, I finally opened her texts. They started soft. "Baby, where are you? We need to talk about this like adults. You're being childish. Marriage means compromise." Then they escalated. "Greater than if you get on that plane. I'm changing the locks. I'll throw your stuff out." "Fine, go, when you come back. You'll see what happens when you choose your family over your wife." I replied while boarding, "Greater than see you in 2 weeks, maybe." Then I blocked her number and ordered another drink. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. The wedding was perfect. My brother Jake had met his now wife on a trip to Costa Rica 2 years back, and they'd decided to get married on the same beach where they'd met. I was supposed to be his best man, and for a while, I thought I wouldn't make it. But there I was standing barefoot in the sand, watching him say his vows at sunset. On day 2, I told my parents what had happened. I showed them the photo of my shredded passport, the messages. My mum didn't say anything, just gave me that terrifying silence that always meant she was processing something serious. My dad leaned back in his chair, jaw tight. "Son," he said, "you need to get that marriage annulled today." "I know," I said quietly. 3 weeks married. And she's destroying federal documents. That's not a wife. That's a warden." He wasn't wrong. Later that night, Jake found me at the beach bar. He sat down next to me with a beer and didn't say anything for a while. Then he sighed. "Gotta be honest, man," he said. "I never liked her." I laughed, even though it hurt. "Then why didn't you say something? Would you have listened?" "Probably not." He shook his head. "She gave me weird vibes from the start. Too intense. Kept asking if you were really committed to our family or just pretending. That stopped me cold. She what? At your wedding. Like she was testing you. It was weird, man. It all started making sense. The constant questions. The possessive comments. The guilt trips every time I had to travel for work. Clara didn't want a partner. She wanted ownership. That night, I met Sophie, a guest at the wedding, Jake's wife's cousin, apparently. We got to talking at the bar. Turns out, she was a family law attorney. When I told her what happened, she listened without interrupting. When I finished, she took a sip of wine and said, "You've got grounds for annulment. Easy ones: fraud, coercion, destruction of property to control behavior. A judge would grant it in minutes." "How fast?" I asked. "I practice in your state. Just moved there 6 months ago. If you're serious, I can file the paperwork when we get back." I didn't even hesitate. "I'm serious." "Good," she said. "Bring me everything's text, threats, that passport photo. That'll bury her." For the first time in weeks, I slept peacefully. When I got back from the wedding 2 weeks later, Clara had barely texted me. "A few random numbers: you need to come home. I'm sorry, I overreacted. Please. We can fix this." But I'd already made up my mind. When my Uber pulled up to our apartment building, her car was parked outside. I unlocked the door, half expecting the locks to be changed. They weren't. Inside, she was waiting. Full makeup, red dress, hair perfectly curled. A dinner for two set on the table. "Welcome home, baby," she said, voice sweet as syrup. She tried to hug me. I stepped back. No, her smile faltered. "What?" "I met with an attorney at the wedding. I'm filing for an annulment tomorrow." Her face changed like a switch, sweetness, melting into confusion, then fury. "You're really doing this? Over a passport? Over you showing me exactly who you are?" I said quietly. "Someone who destroys things to control people." Her lips trembled. "We can fix this. Therapy, I'll change." "No," I said. "I don't think you will." I turned and started packing. She followed me into the bedroom, her heels clicking sharply on the hardwood floor. I could feel her eyes burning into my back as I pulled the suitcase from under the bed and started tossing clothes into its shirts. Pants, chargers, anything I could grab without looking at her. "Where are you going?" she demanded, voice trembling between anger and panic. "Hotel," I said. "Then my parents' place. You can keep the apartment. You can't just leave, Ethan. You can't." "I can," I said flatly, folding a jacket. "And I'm your wife." "For about 3 more weeks," I muttered. Her tone changed in an instant, from fury to pleading. "Please, don't do this. I love you. I just got scared, that's all. You travel so much, and I thought if I could make you stay." I turned and looked at her. "By destroying my passport?" Tears streamed down her face. "I made a mistake. I thought if I could make you stop, you'd see how much I needed you." "That's not love, Clara," I said softly. "That's control," she sniffled. "I quit my job for you. That stopped me." "When?" "Last week. I thought we could start a family." I froze, suitcase up. "I never asked you to quit your job. I never said we were ready for a family. You said you wanted one someday." "Someday, not 3 weeks into a marriage you already tried to sabotage." Her tears turned to anger again. "You owe me." "I owe you nothing," I said, zipping the bag shut. She ran to the doorway, blocking my path. "You're not walking out that door until we talk." "Move," I said quietly. "No." I sighed. "Then I'll call the cops." That made her hesitate. She stepped aside, shaking, her lip trembling as she whispered, "You'll regret this. Everyone will know what you did to me." "Yeah," I said, brushing past her. "They'll know exactly what you did to me." She followed me down the hallway, crying, screaming, begging. When the elevator doors closed between us, her voice cut off like someone had hit mute. The Uber driver glanced at me through the rearview mirror as I slid in. "Rough night, man." I gave a tired half laugh. "Ex-wife, He raised an eyebrow. For about 6 more weeks. Dang, he said, nodding slowly. Good luck. That night, in a hotel room that smelled like bleach and burnt coffee, I slept for the first time in what felt like forever. The next morning, I called Sophie, the attorney I'd met at the wedding. She didn't waste any time. File it today, she said. We'll go with annulment under fraud and coercion. The passport photo alone is enough, but we'll add every message, every threat. I emailed her everything I had. By Monday afternoon, the paperwork was filed. She got served Wednesday morning. By Thursday, my hotel's front desk called me at 6:47 a.m., Mr. Turner. The clerk said nervously, "There's a woman in the lobby claiming to be your wife. She's demanding to see you." I sighed. What's she doing? She's causing a bit of a scene. I threw on a bathrobe and went downstairs. She was there, hair messy, makeup smeared, eyes wild. When she saw me, she screamed, "You can't just leave me like this." Hotel security stood a few feet away, ready. "Ma'am," one of them said, "you need to leave. I'm his wife." She yelled, pointing at me. "He owes me. He ruined my life." I kept my voice calm. "You quit your job without asking me, Clara. That was your decision. Now you need to leave." She tried to lunge at me, but the guards caught her easily. "Mr. Turner, would you like us to file an incident report?" "Yes," I said immediately. "Please do." They escorted her out, her screams echoing down the hall. I went back to my room, closed the door, and called Sophie. She showed up at the hotel, tried to attack me. "Perfect," Sophie said, her tone icy and professional. "We'll use that too." By that afternoon, my phone was blowing up again, voicemails from her mother, her sister, her best friend. "How dare you abandon my daughter after everything she gave up for you? You manipulated her into marriage, and now you're throwing her away. She told me you pushed her. I'm reporting you." That last one chilled me to the bone. A false abuse accusation could destroy my entire career. I called Sophie again. "She's threatening to say I hit her. Did she file anything?" "Not yet. She won't," Sophie said confidently. "She has no evidence, and you've got hotel footage proving she attacked you. Still, don't engage. Don't respond to anything directly. Got it?" 2 days later, I went back to the apartment with my brother as a witness to grab the rest of my things. She wasn't there at first. We packed fast. My brother, ever the practical one, kept his phone recording the whole time, just in case. We were loading the last box when she pulled up her car, screeched into the parking lot, and she jumped out, eyes red and furious. "What the hell are you doing?" she shouted. "Getting my things," I said evenly. "Those are asterisk hours." Asterisk, I pointed at the boxes. "These are my clothes, my electronics, my books. You can keep everything else." She started yanking things out of the boxes. "No, you can't leave me with asterisk, nothing." Asterisk Jake stepped between us. "Hey, back off, lady. This is between me and my asterisk husband," she snapped. "Soon-to-be ex-asterisk husband," I corrected. That made her freeze for half a second. Then she hissed, "You told your family. You embarrassed me in front of everyone." "You embarrassed yourself," I said. "All I did was document it." We loaded the last box. She followed us all the way to the car, screaming and sobbing. Some of the neighbors had their phones out, recording. Honestly, I was glad. The more evidence, the better. By the time we got to my parents' house, I felt like I'd aged 10 years. My mum had made up my old room, same quilt, same posters, like I'd stepped into a time capsule. "You're doing the right thing," she said, hugging me. "It doesn't feel like it," I admitted. "Feels like I'm nooking my life over a passport." "It's not about the passport, honey," she said softly. "It's about what it stood for." She was right. It wasn't about a piece of paper. It was about control, about someone thinking love meant possession. That weekend, Sophie called again. "She's contesting the annulment," she said. "Of course she is," I sighed. "What's the angle?" She's claiming you lured her into marriage under false pretense, financial support, then abandoned her when she quit her job. I didn't even know she quit until after I left for the wedding. I know, Sophie said. We've got timestamps, texts, pay stubs. She's got nothing, but she's dragging it out, hoping you'll pay her off. Not happening. Good, Sophie said. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. The next week was chaos. She called my office, claiming I'd stolen money from her. HR had to open an investigation. They found nothing, of course, and issued her a cease and desist letter. Then, at 1:30 in the morning, she showed up at my parents' house, drunk, pounding on the front door. My dad called the cops. They escorted her off the property while she screamed that I'd ruined her life. I filed for a restraining order the next day. She contested that. To dot at the hearing, she stood there, crying, saying I'd abandoned her and cut her off from her family. The judge didn't buy it. He looked at the evidence, her texts, the hotel incident, the midnight visit, and said, "Ma'am, you destroyed your husband's federal document. You forged his signature. You harassed him. That's not love. That's harassment. Restraining order granted. 500 feet, 1 year. No contact except through attorneys." She sobbed as they escorted her out. Her mum yelled at the judge. Both of them were removed by bailiffs. Sophie turned to me, smiling. "That just made your annulment a slam dunk." 2 weeks later, my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. I barely paid it any attention till I saw the caller ID. Detective H. Myers, Special Agents. I answered cautiously. "This is Ethan, Mr. Lane. We've got a call from your wife, Clara Lane, about a break-in at your apartment. She says you staged a burglary to smear her. We want you to come to the station to clear things up." I closed my eyes and exhaled slowly. Of course she agreed. When I got there, the detective was nice. Very professional. He took Clara's statement, in which I clearly said I had torn up my passport to make her look crazy and then fled the country. I showed him the text messages, the photos, the email receipt for my emergency passport, and the flight log showing I'd been overseas for my brother's wedding. Myers skimmed through it, looking puzzled, then closed the notebook. "Mr. Lane, you have nothing to worry about. But for your own safety, I recommend you file for a restraining order. She's escalating." I nodded. "It's already started." He smirked. "Smart." As I walked out, the air was lighter, as if her last shred of control had finally been broken. But it wasn't over yet. 3 days later, I got a call from Sophie, my lawyer. "She's contesting the annulment," she said. "Filed a declaration that you were emotionally abusive and that the passport incident was self-defense." I almost laughed. "Defense against what?" "Against abandonment," Sophie said curtly. Her words, not mine. "She's unbelievable. She's desperate," Sophie said. "But don't worry. The court won't accept it. Just keep your distance. Don't drag it out." So I didn't. I blocked every phone number, every email, every fake account she used to contact me. She even left letters, handwritten under my apartment door. I didn't open any of them. I photographed them as evidence and gave them to Sophie. Weeks passed. Then one morning, Sophie called again. "You're free," she said simply. It took me a second to understand. "What do you mean?" "The judge signed. The marriage is approved. It's officially void. Legally, the marriage never happened." I slumped in my chair, my head in my hands. The weight I'd been carrying since that first shredded passport photo finally lifted. A month later, I received a postcard. No return addressed, just a picture of Venice, the Rialto Bridge glowing in the sunset. The message read, "Maybe now you won't run away from the people who love you anymore." No signature, but I recognized the handwriting. This time I didn't call the police. I just tore the card in half, threw it in the trash, and poured myself a drink. She wanted me to feel haunted, controlled, stalked, but instead I felt nothing. 6 months later, I was at a conference in San Diego when I ran into Sophie again. She was speaking at a legal conference. When she saw me, she smiled. "Ethan Lane," she said, amused. "You look relieved." "I've been sleeping better." "I'm glad. You deserve peace." "Coffee after your talk?" I asked. She tilted her head. "Are you sure you're ready to date a lawyer?" I grinned. "Only if she promises not to tear up my passport." She smiled, and for the first time in a long time, it felt genuine. Months later, we flew to Costa Rica, back to the beach where my brother had gotten married. I stood barefoot in the sand again, the ocean breeze, the gentle sound of the waves. Except this time, I wasn't running from anything. I learned the hard way. Love built on control is not love. It is captivity masquerading as commitment.